to the Elite Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Papa, along with my co-host, William McClellan, and we're here for part 2 with Johnathan Cook. So, Johnathan, man,
let's do it.
This episode was definitely great. The first episode, or part 1, a lot of information. Loved hearing about your childhood. Now we're starting to talk about real estate. So, in 2005, you bought your first property and entered into the world of real estate investing.
Right.
What led you into real estate, and what was it like to make the first deal like that?
Okay, so I pretty much always knew that, somehow or another I wanted to go into real estate because I thought it was where I could make money. And just because I grew up, I knew it,
Mm-hmm.
So the guy I actually went to work for originally owned Southern Specialties.
Mm-hmm.
His wife owns First American Title. A title company. I didn't even know anything about title companies,
Right.
And when I told her I was like going to get in real estate, she's like, make sure you come to me for the closing,
Uh-huh.
And that's why it becomes so important, this title company, because from the beginning I knew her and she had, explained to me about title companies.
Yeah.
So it's 2005 at this point. Hurricane Ivan's hit, and I meet this new guy that owns another property management company, and he's giving me some work, And so I'm sitting at my house one day and I'm reading the Shopper. I don't know if y'all know what that is.
I remember the Shopper.
It used to be a shop. You go to the gas station, get it for 75 cents.
Yeah.
I would get it every week, and I would sit there and read it for deals,
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm reading the Shopper, and there's this mobile home and lot listed in there for $21,000 or $25,000 maybe, and it's on Webs. So I tell my wife, I'm like, I'm going to go look at this mobile home and lot, And she's like, why? And I was like, well, I might buy it. And she's like, with what? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm going to go look at it right now.
Check it out.
Right. So my brother,
looking at
Joseph,
deals.
he's a hustler too, So he's like, I'll go with you. He's living with me, So me and Joseph go over there. We're a team, And we look at this trailer. A tree has fallen and crushed like the back section of the roof. And so the lady couldn't rent it or anything, And but I'm looking at it like, I can fix this. Not a big deal, And so I tell her, I'll buy it from you if you own or finance it to me. And she's like, well, what will you give it to? What will you give me for it? And I told my brother, I was like, I'm going to try to get this lady down to 21,000, really just trying to see if I could. I didn't have any money, And so I offer her 3,000 down, $450 a month for 36 months, works out to 21,750 is what it should work out to. Even no interest.
He remembers
because
the deal.
I didn't know how to figure the interest. So she tries to get interest, and I was like, no. I'll do $450 a month for 36 months, 3,000 down, 21,750, and no interest, because I didn't want to get tricked or get screwed over, and I didn't really know how to figure it,
Sure.
And she agrees to this. So I'm like, all right, So I was like,
I gotta pause. I don't want to slow the enthusiasm. I just want to make sure everyone heard what you really did here.
No interest.
Yeah.
I love it.
So for one, no interest. When's the deal? The biggest thing I heard here is you found someone who had a problem.
Yes.
A big problem. They had an unrentable trailer. A trailer had a tree on the back. You said back part of it.
2005, before wholesaling, before internet.
Before all that.
So this is before all this. But so basically, the person had a problem. This was not going to sell easily. Right. It's not going to sell to anyone who's not willing to do some work. You were willing to do.
She had a mortgage. She ends up doing a wraparound. I didn't even know this when I made the deal with her, but ends up being a wraparound mortgage.
So now her problem's even bigger.
Right. So she's the bigger problem.
Yeah, so this is costing her money. She has no money coming in. So this is a solution. So I just want to point out to everybody listening that real estate deals can happen when you're solving for someone else's problem. If you hear about someone's problem, that's when you can get the best deal. That's when you get the impossible deal. That's when you can buy deals with no money.
Yes.
And
so I let's put the closing 30 days out, and I call Rhonda, which I'm not working for Shane no more, but I do his wife owned First American. And I was like, hey, can you do this closing for me? And that's how it really started out. So this is my first one, right? So my mortgage payment hurts $450 a month.
Okay.
This trailer is the roof's caved in on the back of it, and we're living in a house on S Street paying $650 in rent, and then I have a kid. So I go buy my wife a car, right? She didn't have a license yet, but I buy her a car, and that's like $350 a month. So payments just starting to stack up on me.
Yeah.
But I start working for this other guy that has a second property management company.
Okay.
And he's promised me all this work. I have tons of work, tons of work, So I'm thinking I have all this work coming in and be a lot of money, So I go do this job for him in Navarre. And he's like, meet me at this house to get paid. So I go to this house in Mayfair to meet him and get a check from him. When I get to this house is like shit. Right. And he just foreclosed and took it, kicked the people out of the house in poor shape, you know? And I'm like, what are you going to do with this house? He's like, I'm going to sell it. And I was like, really? And he's like, I was like, I'd be interested in buying it. I don't have any money, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm thinking he's going to give me all this work, you know, and I'm going to be making all this money. And he's like, well, what will you give me for it? He's like, make me an offer. And I'm thinking, I'm like, you know, I paid 21 for the trailer, this house. So I'm like, 25 is the deal, you know?
25 is
So,
the deal.
So I said, I'll give you 25,000 for the house, right? It's 511 New York Street is the address on the house. So, but I told him, I was like, he wanted a 5,000 down payment. I said, look, I said, I want to have 5,000 to start with, you know. But secondly, I was like, if I give you 5,000 up front, I was like, I'm not gonna have any money to fix this house, and this house needs to be fixed. So I was like, how about I do 5,000 and work on the house, and that's my down payment, but I still owe you the 25. So you're not taking anything off.
I love it.
But that way,
I
if
love
ever you have to foreclose, you get a house back
That's remodeled.
Yeah.
Done.
So right.
Done.
So he agrees to this, right? But my payment to him is $550 a month. So now I've got $450 on the trailer, it's not rentable. $550 on this house, it's not rentable. $650 for my house. $350 for this car, and it's just like stacked.
$2 grand. Yeah, I got $2 grand now.
So that's a lot of money to me at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's not giving me all these big jobs like I thought I was going to get. Like all these jobs aren't coming, you know. So like we're staying busy working, but it's a lot of payments. So I'm actually going and hitting like these payday advances, you know, to take out like $500 payday advances, pay these payments. I didn't even tell my wife I bought a New York Street house. And I was like, she was already so worried about the trailer. I was like, I'm not even going to tell her about this.
Oh my God.
So
She knows now.
yeah, she knows now.
Okay, good.
So
Yeah, she'll find out. Yes.
Yeah.
So and it's like, you know, a couple months go by, maybe 6 months. I'm working on them, all of them, and I'm just like, I can't keep up with these payments. I'm like, something's got to change here, you know. So, but this is 2005. Real estate market's booming.
Yeah.
So I go to New York Street and Wells both, and I put for sale by owner signs up, for sale by owner, thinking maybe I'll sell them, you know. And someone calls me and he's like, hey, he's like, what do you want for your New York Street house? And I was like, 35,000, you know. And he's like, all right, I'll take it. I was like, yes.
No way.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Because I was like, I'm about to lose this house, you know.
Yeah.
So I go to close and I sell it to him. I make 10,000 that day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna do this forever. Like this is all I'm gonna do. You
Yeah.
know?
You got the bug.
Yeah.
That was
And
it.
I take that 10,000 and I fix the trailer
Sure.
that was damaged, and then I move us into it because it's just 450. And I get rid of the 650 house.
Yeah.
And then get rid of the
Because you're renting that 650 house, right?
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then now all I have is just that trailer at 450, and the house I'm actually renting from that guy Bill Gainey, that owned the property management company. I continue working, so I wanted to leave it in good shape for him to keep that business.
Now, Jonathan, I'm gonna put you kind of on the spot here, and it's kind of personal. How many square feet is the house we're in right now?
3,100.
Everyone, and I just wanted to say that for everyone listening, like we're in a very nice house in a gated neighborhood. They didn't even let me in to come in here at the beginning. Like, you know, I had to call them to get special permission to come in. I just again highlighting this for people. There's so many people that I talked to today are afraid to take a step down to take a step up.
I think that's a good point.
And I just wanted to point out that we're in an over 3,100 square foot home, 3-car garage, beautiful gated neighborhood now. This man was willing to live in a trailer for $450 a month.
Don't forget about Salvation Army.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was in the first episode. So went from willing to do Salvation Army, willing to live in a trailer. Like I said, I look up so much for doing that because there's so many people that aren't willing to make sacrifices for success. And like I said, I mean, I just learned all this about Johnathan today, and like I said, my respect for this guy is like through the roof because like what you've accomplished to where you are now is huge.
I also think
people say that, but to me it just seemed like it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just life. Yeah.
But to that, and if you guys didn't listen to episode 1, you need to. Johnathan was born on a houseboat with no birth certificate and was teaching himself how to read and write. I mean,
never went to a formal education, no schooling, you know. So
no,
actually,
we didn't have any birth certificates. That's where it becomes a problem.
I was about to say I was literally going to say, how are you buying all of this stuff and going to title and things with no birth certificates? I mean, I'm assuming that also means you have no social security number,
right? So before that happens, I get pulled over multiple times, like 3 times.
Okay.
I didn't have no license. I have no tags, no insurance on
Well,
this
yeah, you
van.
don't have
You know?
it. Oh,
And,
yeah, the van.
no,
When you're at
no,
Salvation Army.
Yeah, nothing on
Okay.
it. I just, the tag was on it when I bought it.
How did we not get into
And
this?
so I finally, the judge is like, you have to get a driver's license. But at this point, I'm only 17. I'm not even 18 years before I bought the property.
Okay.
And I was like, I would love to get a license. You would give me one. But I was like, they won't give me one. You know, he's like,
Yeah.
why not? It's like, I have a birth certificate, you know? And so he gets them. He's like, where are you born? I was like, Mississippi, you know? So he's like, you have to go to the health department in Mississippi. And I was like, okay. So I go to the health department. They're like, we can give you a birth certificate. We need proof of birth, you know? So my mom gets involved. So there's a law in the United States. You don't have to be born in a hospital. You just have to have proof of birth to get a birth certificate.
So like a photo?
So my dad's Bible was all written in the back of it. And that's what I had to give the health department, a copy of that Bible, and it showed all of us written in it. And that's where the date of my birth and all came from. And they issued the birth certificate with that.
What?
It's true. And so my mom actually did that part for me. So I didn't do it. My mom did that. But she does it for all the kids because we're scattered all over. JP Joel born in Texas, Jason's Georgia. I'm Mississippi, Joe's Mississippi, because he was traveling, following there, you know.
And it was wherever
Yes.
they were ready to have the baby.
The last one was Pensacola that passed away. So after she does that, my mom goes to the Social Security office and gets everyone's Social Security card at once.
But did
So
she have
if
to
you-
go to every home state, or how does that
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, every health department.
my
Yes,
God.
every health
So
department.
she's in Florida,
Mississippi,
Alabama,
Texas, and
Mississippi.
Georgia.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Or sorry, not Alabama.
And,
Mississippi.
So if you
Wow.
take, and this is how I can prove it, if you take all of my siblings' and our Social Security numbers up, you'll see they're one digit off. They were always issued at the same
Oh
time.
my gosh, that is insane.
So,
Wow.
like, I used my other brother's Social Security number for a while when I had no license, and when it was suspended at one point. And I just know it's one digit for mine, just the end digit's different and the same as mine.
Oh my gosh, that is
Wow.
actually insane. Okay,
So I ended up getting a driver's license, birth certificate, all that time I'm like 16, 17, something like that. You know, at that point I have all that when I start doing closings on property.
got it. But I mean, still to get to that point, you've lived your whole life without it. Like that's something that
I mean, I was actually thinking to myself, like, did you really just mess yourself up getting that social? I mean, how would they even know about audit you or collect taxes?
But you gotta do
But remember,
buy real estate,
And
own
you-
businesses, driver's license.
and you lost some of the houses that your dad had bought, kind of
Yeah.
with some title issues
Yeah.
and some things like that. So probably
Yeah, a big chunk of them we ended up losing. My older brother sold 2 of them for $18,000 to pay off a bunch of taxes. We were about to lose a bunch.
Sure.
But he had sacrificed 2, and that factory he'd already lost a couple. He'd already lost a few, and he's like, I'm gonna sell these 2 and pay up everything else. But at the time, I remember he sold both houses for 18. So I was like, yeah, it's cheap for 2 houses. You know, 18,000
Totally.
for 2 houses. That was to save the rest of my dad's stuff. You know,
That's pretty. Yeah.
so
it wasn't
tough
a bad-
decision, but yeah, probably the right one. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how I get a birth certificate, and I'm like, you know, at this point, I'm just like on top of the world. They kept
Sure.
looking at me like I'm illegal, like they wanted to deport me. They just didn't know where to send me to. Like, we're deporting you. Just we don't know what country you're from, but you're not from here. I'm like, I'm from here, you know.
Sending somebody here.
Right? And I'm like, I got this Bible. This Bible shows I was born here, you know.
So get,
And
get the houseboat.
that's why I was joking myself. I'm like, I think I might be the oldest. I think I just got mixed up in the list there.
Oh
You know?
my gosh, that's so funny. Actually, were you in international waters?
No, I have no idea where Mississippi is. Probably the cheapest area you can park a houseboat in Mississippi.
That is crazy. I didn't even think about that. So, okay, let's dive back
So
in.
here's
So you're
the
talking
crazy
about these
thing.
first deals. Go ahead.
So I pay off this trailer, right? And pay this lady off, pay out my payments. I buy a second trailer in the neighborhood owner finance. We live in that trailer for 12 years, save money. When we move out of that trailer, we own almost 20 houses. But we're
Wait,
living in that
what?
one. Yes.
In this one that was crushed by a tree that you got the deal on.
We lived there for like 3 years.
And
And then
you
we buy a
another-
double wide
Okay.
for like 23,000 with the lot. And we live in that double wide for another like 9 years.
People, listen to
It's
this.
not quick. It doesn't happen.
Yeah. No, because like I said, you know, again, we're in a beautiful neighborhood today, and you know, and it's all comes from you willing to make those sacrifices. You know, because you said 20 houses by the time.
By the time we moved out there, we had 20 houses. But this is, you know, this is going to be 2010, 11, 12, something like that, when the market's crashed, and we're buying a house for $10,000, $15,000.
Yeah,
we buy a bunch at that point. But here's how I buy them, because I have no money at that point.
I was about to say, how are you able to kind of scale that way? And is this through Jonathan's construction? When does the floor store come around?
So that's when Jonathan's properties comes in. We start buying more houses, and I'm like, everybody's like, you need to put them in an LLC, you know, like, okay, you know, so I start Jonathan's properties. And so I have the one trailer paid for, owned it outright. Sure. Second trailer, I'm making a mortgage payment of $372 a month.
Gotta love it.
We lived there for 9 years at $372 a month.
Oh,
and so seriously, no insurance. We had no insurance. They required us to get it. The people we bought it from. So I'm like, we can refinance the first trailer, take a mortgage on it, and buy some of these cheap houses that are like $10,000, $15,000, you know? So I think to myself, I'm like, you know, how would I get a loan? And I think Jerry Jackson, the guy that I was building his barn for Shane, because he's in charge of American General. He's like the president.
Right.
You know? So I called Jerry and I'm like, hey, I'm like, I want to, I'm like, this is Johnathan. I was like, you know, I have these houses I want to find.
Did you ever finish the barn?
Right. Yeah, I did finish it. So like it took forever, but I finished it, you know? So, so Jerry's like, you know, he's kind of impressed. He's like, hey, he's impressed that I have these houses. It's paid for, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, come in, fill an application out, you know? So I go in, I fill it out, do the whole package, you know? And I'm thinking for sure he would loan me, you know, because the house paid for. I don't owe anybody anything, you know? And he calls me and he's like, American General doesn't want to make this loan. Basically, because I don't have like any tax returns and history of anything. It's basically what it comes down to, you know?
Gotcha.
And he says, me and Diane would like to make it for you, like him himself, personally. And so I'm like, no, you know, because I don't want to hear that from anybody, you know.
Sure.
So I was like, appreciate it, but not really, you know. And he's like, no, he's like, you don't understand. Like, we're not giving you a handout. He's like, I want 10% interest, 2 points on it. And he's like, I want to invest in you, you know. And at this point, I'm like, okay, you know.
Okay.
So I take this $25,000 loan from him at 10% interest, 2 points, use that to buy 2 more houses.
Yeah, he definitely won't give you a handout.
I go back to him again. And I'm like, hey, what about
That's what I'm paying today.
So I go back to him and I borrow more from him, you know, and to buy more houses. Well, I'm doing work for this guy, Ed Blackstone, owns this big trailer park. And, you know, I just like talking. So I'm telling him a story and all that, you know, he's a Pentecostal guy. And I told him, he's like, how are you buying these houses? I was like, well, Jerry loans me money at 10%, 2 points. And he's like, 10%? He's like, I'll loan you money for 10%, you know? And I'm like, well, okay, if you want to loan me some, you can. So between Jerry and then the trade hands end up doing the same thing. And Ed, that's where all my financing for all my houses come from. And most of them are like 10, 15,000 a piece. And I'm borrowing it, the payment on them. Like I bought 2 on being young. I paid $11,000, financed them through the trade hands at 10% interest. And the payment was $162 a month. Both houses.
160.
Because I mean, this is when the market's crashing. It has for like $15,000, so the payment's like less than $300 per house.
This is insanity.
This is how I stacked up 20 houses, all private money, all like that, you know. But I'm a hustler. I find deals, you know.
Yeah.
I bought an apartment building the week of Christmas on Brainerd Street at 3703 Brainerd Street, and I paid $12,000 for it. A whole apartment building. So
what?
Yeah.
How many doors?
3 doors.
Okay.
My brother still has it. Joseph that works with me. I ended up selling it to him. And first sold my older brother Joel. Then he gave it back. And then I sold it to Joseph. But so I see this apartment building, right? And it's like right before Christmas time. And I called the bank. It's bank owned, foreclosed, you know, and tried to get a deal on it, you know, and they don't seem like they want to negotiate too much. So I noticed a bunch of traction here. So I start calling code enforcement. Like, you know, just hitting up code enforcement, like, hey, this place over here, we need this place, you know, in this area, get them excited. You know? So I'm like, once it becomes an issue,
put the heat on the bank.
Yeah, they're gonna run it. You know? So I call and complain. They get so many citations on this building. The guy calls me back. He was like, "What was the offer you wanted to make?" And I was like, "I can do $12,000," and he sells it to me.
What?
For $12,000? You can look it up on the county record. It's 3703 Brainerd.
You still have it now?
Well, my brother.
Brother
My should be on there. My cell should be on.
Yeah. That's insane.
But I would do a lot of stuff like that back then. You know, back when it was tons of foreclosure and prices were so cheap. Maybe you get all sorts of deals like that. You know, it's hard to find that now, but
Mhm.
but then you could find deals like that.
So we're talking a little bit about all of these deals. You guys are really lucky that you're getting to hear about these first deals and things. But what you might not have heard, unless you were really listening to the introduction, because we haven't touched on it, he's done over 300 deals. Okay.
And
Oh
never,
yeah, that intro was in part 1, so I did not.
never have I
So,
taken
yeah.
bank money. I've never taken bank money other than this house we're sitting in. It's the only house I've ever financed through the bank ever.
And okay, so 299 transactions.
And only because
Nothing with the bank.
I'm a very loyal person, and Jerry was so good to me, I used him for as long as I could.
Yeah.
And then Ed Glass, he becomes, and at this point, is a very good friend of mine. He becomes like my godfather and starts teaching me. And so I start kind of getting close to him and borrowing from him. And to this day, I have 8 or 9 notes, probably over $1 million with him.
I was actually about to ask
He
that
loans
from
me
these, from the trade-ins and everyone that you.
I still borrow from the same people.
That's amazing.
From all along, I borrow from the same people.
Yeah.
I still pay 10%, 2 points. The market goes up, market goes down. I pay the same thing.
Oh my God.
Sometimes I borrow and I don't even need it, but because sometimes I have the money to do it myself. Because like a lot of my deals, I am self-financing, and then some I borrow from Ed. But some of it's his retirement too. You know, that's how he makes it. Is loaning it to me.
Totally.
So and he was so good to me and helped me get going that I want him to continue to make money. You know,
it's a win-win-win, right? All the way around. You're able to win because you know that you're able to, if you have a deal, you can close on. Right.
And I don't have to go to the bank. There's no application. So I don't have to insure if I don't want to insure, because I didn't insure a lot of stuff. All I literally do is pick up the phone and call it, say, hey, I want to buy this house. I need 150. One time I needed 150 for a house I was buying, and he was leaving to Colorado. And he's like, I'll leave a check on the coffee table and do the closing when I get home. And they left me 150,000 sit on the coffee table.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's amazing.
And look, and that just again speaks to
he's not a family member.
Yeah. That just speaks to the people that know you and know your integrity.
Exactly.
Because like, you know, no one's leaving a 6-figure check and like do the paperwork later unless like they know what they're dealing with someone.
I would never screw him over, you know, because one would screw me over. But secondly, I just not that kind of person. And anybody's been good to me, I'll be good back to them. There's no reason to steal from me.
Totally.
You know?
And that's something that I was really excited to get Johnathan on here. He's just such a nice guy, super sharp. He points out those things like I just love it. He said, I just look at things with common sense, right? And when you're doing that and breaking things down, you're building people's trust because you're not over leveraging, you're not doing anything crazy. He knows what he's doing. He's paying people back and he's staying loyal. Like what kind of better business partner or person would you want? So he's staying loyal to these people. And then outside of that, he has all of these businesses where he has thousands of customers throughout the local area. And you've been building rapport for 30 years now, right?
Or 21.
Yeah.
21.
I mean, that's amazing.
And I always do what I say I'm going to do. My dad was huge on that. Like when we were kids, oh man, like if I told him I was going to do something, I had to do it. And I think that stuck with me. My very first job when I was still living with my dad before I moved out, I don't know if y'all remember like the T&W flea market up there.
Yeah.
But Red Cotton used to own it. And we got to know his son, TW. And so Red Cotton, he knew our family because we would sell stuff out there. And he offered me a job. Buddy actually worked for him, this guy named Buddy that sold carpet remnants. And he said, I'll pay you $20 to hang all the reserve signs. It used to be a chain that went over the front of the table with a sign that said reserve. Okay. He said he'd pay me $20 to hang all the reserve signs. So me and Joseph did it together. And so I asked my dad if I could do it for $20, you know. And he said, you can do it, but he's like, you can't quit. He's like, you take the job, you have to do it. You know? I did that job until Red Cotton sold that flea market. Way past the time I'm 18, 19 years old.
No way.
When he sold that flea market when I quit doing it.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yep.
Now, with all of this, and for the listeners, like doing what you say you're going to do, being loyal, using these same people, is that kind of the secret to scaling? Like, how did you go from getting this first deal, like you said, like 21,000, the roof's caved in on the trailer, right? And then you actually get a whole nother deal that you put under contract and sell it as your first full through deal. And now we're talking hundreds of deals.
Right.
Like take us a little bit through what it looked like going from 0 to 20, which you've done. And then what did it look like from 20 to 50 and then 50 to 250? Like,
Well,
how does that work?
All of
'Cause
it's
I'm
been,
curious.
yeah, all of it's just been like, ain't really been like 100 at a time. You know,
Of course,
it's been deals,
but- yeah,
just
yeah.
constantly.
What would you say your average number of years been? I mean, the average number you do a year for like the last 10 years.
About 10, 15, you know.
10 to 15
but during that whole time, the market was real low. There was a lot of them I pushed out, you know, because it was so cheap. You know,
Yeah.
like I bought a fourplex behind the Noise Tire on 9 Mile Road. To this day, that's the only one that really gets to me because I bought it. I borrowed 40,000 from Jerry to buy it, and Jerry's like, I don't know, Johnathan. He's like, you know, my company owns that building. He's like, we've already been trying to sell it. I didn't know American General has one that owned it. You know,
No way.
His company owned it, and I'm asking to loan me money to buy it. You know? And he's like, I've already been trying to sell it. I haven't been able to sell it. I'm like, I got this. Let me borrow 40,000 so I can buy it from your company. You know, and so he loans me the 40, and you know, I had so many deals going at the time. All these payments are small, but there's a lot of payments. You know, none of these houses are rentable, so I'm having to fix them and put a lot of money into them. This guy comes along, he offers me 60 for it, and nothing to it yet. And so I was like, all right, you know, I'll sell it. It's 20,000. I ended up asking a friend of mine, Kathy, it's a realtor. I was like, what do you think? You know, and she's like, I would sell it for me. I was like, okay, you know, it was 20,000. I could use it. You know, Fast forward to last year, Nicole at Realty Masters calls me. And she's like, did you own this building, this fourplex on 9 Mile Road? And I was like, yeah, one time I did. She's like, I saw it on the tax roll. You sold it for 60. I was like, yeah. She's like, I just listed it for 485. I'm like, so
we're gonna have to bring Johnathan on an episode of deals that got away.
Deals that got
I was like, man.
Well, I did an episode early on places that we've owned that we sold and got away from us, and what they're worth now.
I know. I was like, I can't. Out of all the deals I've ever sold, that's the one that I'm like, how did I do that? Why did I do that?
Well, sometimes I think like bird in hand allows you to do more deals. It allows that leverage or the flexibility of being able to say yes to another deal, and then also kind of releases some of that tension, right? Like you're saying, the person that owned the building, you're borrowing money from to buy the building, and then
I sell it for 60. He's trying to sell it for 40. For 40.
Exactly.
I mean, that tells you how bad the market is when you can't move a fourplex for 40,000.
Yeah, that's crazy.
9 Mile Road behind University State College.
That's
you know,
actually insane.
That is crazy.
Yeah. But you still made that.
But see, also part of it,
turn.
I did, and part of it was just the fact of 60,000. I could pay Jerry back. You know,
Totally.
And I wanted to make sure it kept him happy, you know, kept him paid. And I had a lot of payments stacking up, and I was like, that was my biggest payment. Plus, it was 4 apartments that needed a roof, and needed ACs, needed appliances. I mean, just 5,000 unit for ACs. It was a lot of money to get fixed.
So I think right there, another thing is maybe not deals that got away, but deals that allowed you to do more deals.
Right.
You keep good faith. You impress someone that's already like,
yeah. He was like, how did you sell it?
Exactly.
And I'm like, it was easy, Jerry.
Oh yeah. Don't even worry about it.
And he's like, how would you get for it? I was like 60. And he's like, man. He's like, really? I was like, yeah. But he was happy for me. You know, he was a pretty good guy.
Yeah. So you've moved into new
That's
construction, and you're currently working on your 6th build.
Right.
What inspired you to shift into building new homes from the ground up?
Yeah, I think it's like
question.
I think it's everything that you know, just meeting other people and networking. Mostly the flooring store, having the flooring store. I started getting more customers for new builds. We never done new builds before for anything, you know, with them. But once we opened the flooring store, we started getting contractors hiring us to put flooring in new builds and getting to know contractors and builders and then talking with them. And they're like, oh, yeah, you know, I built it for 150 and selling it for 200. I'm like, why am I not doing that, you know? And I think just that in itself is what kind of like, I should do this too, you know?
So,
and so I actually built any houses myself as far as I've helped build them, but I haven't permitted any houses. All 6 I've built have all been built by my customers. So like,
pretty cool. Talking about loyalty.
Yes.
Same one or different ones?
Different ones.
Okay.
But Jessica,
how many have you partnered with?
3 different.
3.
Jessica Ford that owns Father Daughter Construction was my first one. And so I basically went to her and I was like, hey, will you give me a price to build me 2 houses out here? And so she gave me a price. Basically, it was about a $40,000-$50,000 markup over her cost. I ain't gonna say exact numbers, but but it's about $40,000-$50,000 markup. And even my own team's like, why are we paying her that? We can just build it ourselves. And I'm like, yeah, but look, Jessica's gonna make $40,000 a house off these 2 houses. and she gives us 20 flooring jobs a year. So that's our chance to give her something.
Totally.
You know? And if we can sell with her, the price she charged me, I could still sell the houses and make about $25,000 a house. So I'm like, I can make 25 grand a house. I don't have to do anything and get my biggest customer happy.
And you're making her happy.
Yes.
Exactly.
So in that situation, we ended up making like 50 grand off of it.
Win.
She was happy, you know, and we didn't have to do anything. And then I told my wife, I was like, you know what we should do? I was like, we should start hiring contractors to build houses for us.
Yeah.
And then we'll sell the house, make a profit. And then while they're building the house, we'll be like, hey, why don't you use our flooring? You know,
exactly.
It's better than walking in and asking them to use it. You know,
here's the thing. Johnathan and I kind of built a really nice friendship just over the last few months, and we've gone to lunch. We're already changing our floors. Like I went to one of his new builds, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this floor. He gives me the exact same. And we just talked about it. Same thing. He's creating win-win-wins. He's an amazing guy. So we're going to use him same way that he's building that business. It makes sense. You're giving business, winning on both ends. And who knows, we're going to partner up on other deals too.
Right. And I do want to build some myself, but as of now, it's been an opportunity for me to give to my customers. I do the same thing with my listings because so many of my customers are realtors. I try to divide it up and I get excited. Like I can give the listing to this realtor, this one, because it gives them something back. And if I'm giving them a listing and letting them sell a house,
you're the flooring guy.
Right.
I'm
the flooring guy. So that's the reason I've never got a real estate license. Everybody's like, are you licensed? I'm like, no, I don't, because I don't want to compete with my customer base because they're my customers and I don't want to compete with them.
I think that's super smart.
That's one of the reasons, like Will and I talked about as investors, we didn't want to get it because it's like if we get our own licenses, will realtors still feed us deals?
Exactly.
You know? I don't think so either.
I agree, and so we were talking about that, and we've had a couple on the show, but we did think there would be a little bit of value of getting our mortgage broker's license, because that's all referral based,
right.
And so it's like we're already doing these podcasts and things, but yeah, I totally agree with that, and we had that exact same conversation. Is like if you're getting good referrals and then you stop them, it's going to be hard.
There comes a point where you open all these businesses to feed each other because, like, I get the containers. We're using so many dumpsters for the containers.
Totally.
But there has to be some common sense in there. Like, we can't take the money from everything because other people have to eat too.
Exactly.
If we want to be a realtor and we want to be the contractor, then no one else is making any money around us, and they're not going to stick around for very long.
Sure.
So it has to be, we want enough of the pie that we can eat good, but then everybody else has to make money too.
Totally.
I think that's kind of my theory to it.
No, I love that. And I think that as we're moving through and understanding customer basis and building businesses, I would love to kind of get your take on how you're integrating these businesses and being able to stack them, but then still being able to like share the wealth of this. Like he already talked a little bit about, he could build it. Jonathan's also a GC, so he could build all of these, but he's giving some of these jobs out because it's feeding other businesses in different vessels. And so how, over these last 21 years, have you been able to decide when you're going to open up this new business and how it's going to help the other businesses?
So mostly it's when I've seen enough of a need, like the flooring, for instance, that was easy because I was like, okay, we're spending $400,000 buying flooring goods. We can save $200,000. If we don't get any business, that $200,000 will pay for the store. We're not costing us any money here, So that was there. And then, Jonathan's properties, that come about because I was buying so many households and put them in an LLC. And it just is a natural, fit with a construction company can remodel them. So it was a natural fit for that. And then the containers, I had no desire to open a container company, none. But I will say my containers went from $300, what I paid for a 30-yard container, to $350 after Hurricane Ivan or around Hurricane Ivan, to all the way up to where a year or so ago, they're charging me $550 a container and then overages. That's the problem. I've never in my life paid for overages.
Yeah.
I've always paid $350 for the container. That's it.
And that's it.
Now it's like, oh, you get 4 tons and then we bill you for anything over. All these containers are coming in like $800 for the container,
It's crazy.
And I'm like, we're using so many containers on all of our jobs.
Sure.
I was like, we should just buy a truck, 10 dumpsters ourselves and start our own dumpster business. And that's what I did. And that grew to 2 trucks and 70 dumpsters. And then I was like, I started realizing it's so much work running the dumpster company. I ended up selling it. But
so just so that people understand, right? Like you're using dumpsters everywhere. Like he bought 70. At this point, how many jobs?
So
and
this
things do
is
you-
where the brand comes in, because at this point I bought 10 dumpsters for me. 10, 15 dumpsters do me fine.
Yeah.
But as soon as I open Jonathan's containers, my customers from the other business start using my containers.
I love it.
And
I
then
love
we
it.
need more containers.
I love it.
They're like, they're taking containers for my
from your
job.
job.
And I don't have a container no more, so I have to buy more. So then our truck breaks down. We have to put it in the shop. I paid $165,000 for the truck, so I wanted to build one now. Problems with it, right? Breaks down. And while it's in the shop for 2 weeks, you can imagine how many customers are getting mad.
Oh, I bet.
So I call Hulk, pay Hulk like $250 or $300 a dumpster to pick them up and dump. I'm not making money off these dumpsters. I'm trying to keep customers happy,
Gosh.
And I'm like, we have to have a second truck.
Yeah.
So we have to, we have a backup. But then with a second truck, second driver, and it's all that overhead. So then you got to do more containers. So we need more containers because we got to bring enough money and pay with these drivers, So I buy a second truck, and then that's how it just keeps growing. And
Oh my gosh.
and I like the business and all, but then I got to a point where I realized when it's all said and done, if you charge $500 for a dumpster, you might make $100, $150 profit, maybe $100.
And that's already so expensive.
And it's just like, I don't want to put all this time and effort into this dumpster company when I had an opportunity to sell it, make a good profit. I was like, and so the guy I sold the company to, I made an agreement on price for me for life. So I was part of my negotiating and selling the company. I have a set rate of $450 for life.
Hey, that's good.
I'm back to where I was
Yeah.
like 10 years ago. I'm not $800 a dumpster, So
it worked out.
Yeah, in 10 years, if you're still doing it, you're gonna be getting a great rate.
and I did keep 5 dumpsters. I sold him everything but 5. Now he still picks my 5 up and dumps them, but I kept 5, so I kept the logo, the dumpster, the logo for my job site.
Yeah. So that kind of brings me into another point of like how you're managing the balance between developing, building, investing, creating new businesses, and then most importantly, which we just heard you talk about, keeping your current customer bases happy. Like you were willing to break even or lose money in that time when the truck broke down just because all these people are also buying flooring from you and doing other jobs or building houses with you or whatever the case may be. So if you falter in this new endeavor with the dumpsters, it bleeds into other businesses. So how are you able to manage and balance that kind of stuff?
Well, so having the flooring store was a big piece because it allowed me to hire a staff to work without having to pay them. So if I go hire a staff to work for the construction company, that's all that money's coming out of my pocket.
Sure.
If I hire a staff to run the flooring store, they're selling goods and making their own paychecks. And then I have them to use for my bookkeeping, my bill, my construction company. So when they're running the office, they're doing the billing for the construction company, the customers, answering the phone.
So that's
a big help.
That's where it works of having one huge branding.
Yes.
Because they work for Johnathan's companies, right? So they might be working on flooring, they might be working on properties, that's
and
it's anybody in the flooring office, so they're helping with the whole operation.
It's right. It's anybody I hired because I'm the same way. I'm like, we all work here. We all want to make a paycheck. Whatever needs to be done is what your job is.
I love it.
There's no job title here.
No,
whatever we need to get done. And if there's something that needs to be done that's not covered, then I will go do it myself. Because there's nothing that I don't mind doing myself.
I love about this guy. He'll get down and dirty. Like the other day, I walked the house with him, and I was like, man, I love these built-ins. He had this awesome built-in closet system, and I was like, who designed it, or who's your trim guy? And he said, oh, that was me. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, oh yeah, like I drew it on the wall, and then I went and got this and made it. And I was like, what? And then we walk into another house that he had right next to it, and it was like halfway done, and he was showing me exactly how he was making it, and I was like, that's awesome.
And also, I have my wife, which is a help. So she runs the office. Yeah. So I kind of depend on her to handle all the money side as far as paying people and collecting. Just because it's somebody I can trust to watch it,
Totally.
And she went to school, become a teacher, and she was a teacher for a little while.
Okay.
And then I opened the flooring store, and the company kept growing, and I needed her. But more importantly was because I got in trouble 3 times with the county for doing jobs without a permit. And it wasn't that I had minded getting a permit. Like I got caught putting windows in cantonment, and they fined me like $10,000.
Oh wow!
I got fined putting a firewall up at a daycare, and it's another $5,000 fine.
Oh
and but the problem was I could barely rewrite, so I couldn't pass this test to get my GC license. So I was buying permits from GCs.
Yeah.
That I met. And that's when I told my wife, she's like, what do you need? You know, because I'm like, at this point, they're talking about like I could go to jail with this, you know, if I get
Oh
caught
my
again.
God.
And she's like, what do you need? And I'm like, I need a GC license, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, can't you go to school and get that? So my wife quits teaching and she goes to school for a GC. So
Oh
all
my
of my
God.
licenses are in her name. So
No way.
so that's how I pull it off.
That's amazing.
Man,
She licensed
we
everything.
might have to,
team.
we might have to do a future episode and bring your wife on as a partner, because that's just really cool.
That's
And,
such a cool stuff.
and it's I love, man, you got some elements to your story that are cool, but it's like to have someone you can truly count on like that. That it's like, hey, our family needs this license. You're the educated one. Let's go and get it.
I was like, you can pass a background, you can pass any of this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So so when you get a license, you can either qualify a company or take it in your name.
Sure.
So she qualified my company with it.
Very
so
cool.
that allows me to go full.
Pull it. Yeah.
But everybody's like, how are you a GC? I thought you can read and rhyme. I have a secret weapon. I have my wife back here.
Hey, that's nothing better than a strong partner who can help you elevate where you're at as a team.
And it's been a lot of learning because it's definitely not what she wanted to do. She's not very say a nice word for it. She could care less about having a bunch of stuff.
Sure,
You know,
that's
she could
awesome.
care less about it.
Yeah.
She'd be fine us just working a job, paying her bills, you know, but that's not me, you know.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'll help you get whatever you need. And if you want to do this, we'll do it, you know. But
That's
I don't
amazing.
really. She's like, if you get to where you want to quit and you don't want anything else, I'll quit too. I don't care. You
Oh
know?
my God, that's cool.
So she's not very money hungry or anything. So all the money we make, we just roll it back in because neither one of us really spend a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. So, what are some of the biggest challenges transitioning from flipping to construction and then now into real estate development? Like, what, has it got harder, easier?
I think the biggest challenge for it is, and one of the biggest problems I run into is just the time. So, I'll go buy 2 houses and I'm going to flip these 2 houses for me, and then we get 10 jobs come in. And then it's like, mine sit on the back burner, get everybody else's done because that's what's paying everybody, and bringing money in. And I want my customers to stay happy. So balancing that time, between doing mine and doing everybody else's is probably the hardest part because I love doing my stuff. It's not even work to me. I enjoy doing it. So every Saturday I work on my own stuff,
I love
but
it.
I like to have some time during the week to put a couple guys here and there on my stuff, but balancing the time between all of them is where I never go to my flooring store. You might catch me there once a week checking in and asking, but otherwise my wife's there to make sure the emails are answered, phone. They don't need me sitting up there answering phones.
Sure.
That's not where my time's valuable.
Sure.
So she goes and does that. I stay on the road with all the guys, keeping up with everybody. I mean, that's where my time, me and my brother both that works for me, all we do is keep up with people that are working for us.
Mhm.
Make sure they're doing a good job, help them. Like Joseph, same way. If we get to a job and somebody's in trouble or they're not going to finish it, we're helping them do it. We're not just showing, y'all need to get this done. It's like, what do you need done? I'll help you get it done.
Yeah.
So that's really what I spend my time doing.
Man, that's amazing. I think this is a great round right here. Just you guys are now getting a full picture of how awesome Johnathan is. We're gonna have actually Johnathan pop on with us for a 3rd episode where we're gonna just talk a little bit about vision, grit, understanding, kind of combining episode 1 and episode 2 together. But man, just such an amazing story, and to see where you're at is incredible. Again, just tell all the listeners where they can find you, everything that you're doing, what you can help them with.
So we're in Pensacola, Florida. It's Johnathan's Construction and Flooring. You can find us at 9320 North Pavlov Street. That's going to be our retail location. Or you can give us a call, 850-332-5905, or hit us up on Facebook, Johnathan's Construction and Flooring.
Sweet.
And we can help with remodels, flips, flooring, pretty much anything to do with a home remodel. We can help with.
Killing it, just killing it. Sam, where can people find us, and what can we do to help them too?
Yeah, so if anyone wants to get in touch with me personally, shoot me a DM to Sam_FloridaMan on Instagram. But other than that, any properties that you're looking at, you're trying to sell in Escambia County, especially land deals, buildable land, we are buying. We're buying at least 1 lot a month. We're closing on a minimum of 10 this year. How many have we already closed on? We think we've closed on. Yeah. We're going to be going over, but like I said, we're trying to close on a minimum of at least 1 lot every single month for the rest of this year. So please send us any land deals you have to the eliterealestatepodcast.com. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Elite Real Estate Podcast. And I think that's it. Anything else, Will?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to all the listeners. I mean, I think this month we put 7 deals under contract, and we're going to take down 2. So, we've changed our strategy a bit and getting more things under contract like that. We're also sharing deals too. So even when we're getting things under contract, as long as it's good and we know it's good, we're sharing it to some other people like Johnathan and a couple others, where we're okay. So if you guys find that deal and you need to offload it, we will try and close on it if the numbers work. But sometimes we'll also be able to help you with some other local builders and things too. So definitely shoot those over. We're trying to get a lot of deals under contract and analyze them and just make sure it works for everyone in the area and just bring these comps up. And yeah, so we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you for listening. We'll see y'all in the next episode.